Well, there's no doubt about it that we are facing a severe economic downturn, which is probably going to bite even harder in the coming year. And unfortunately, the people who will be most affected by that are, first of all, the ordinary taxpayer, you and I. We're going to find, I'm pretty sure, sharp increase in taxes, increases all round already, you know, on the horizon. Rail fares, tube fares in London, and so on, are set to go on up, and that's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult all round. And you might ask me, which you've not asked me, but you might ask me, or someone might ask me who's listening. Well, who's responsible for that? And I think one of the answers to that is we've had really, in my view, over the last years, a massive failure in government. Financial regulators, where have they been? Asleep. Government has become far too distant from the people. It is passing legislation on the hoof in reaction to press clamour without detailed thought. Short-term legislation which perhaps makes the politician look popular, but in long term is pretty well nonsense many times. Educational surveys are done, as they were done recently by the Cambridge group, suggesting that, you know, the first couple of years in primary school ought to be enabling children to have skills, social mobility skills and so on, put to one side in favour of other doctrinaire viewpoints. In other words, I think we really need a big shake-up in government, but I'm not sure we're going to get it at the next coming election, and we're going to face the hardships as a country. Well, I think people who are going to be radically affected by the economic downturn are, first of all, as I've already said, the ordinary taxpayer, and secondly, some of the most vulnerable in society, and that includes the homeless. Now, you can divide the homeless into several groupings. You've got, on the one hand, those who are deep into various forms of addiction, who need specialized forms of treatment. You have those who are probably able to begin to manage, but if you were to put them into accommodation, they quickly become depressed because they were not yet fully able to take care of their own lives, and they'd be depressed and fall back into their old ways. I work with an organisation called Emmaus, which is based on community, which enables people who have got at least some desire to help themselves, will come into a community, will leave the dole behind, and will work according to their capacity to begin to regain their dignity as human beings. And that's just a very successful model. I opened the first community in 1992. There are 19 now in the country and another 15 coming along. And that type of model, where it's settled into a specific area, ensures that we ensure that we have the cooperation of the total community and actually also serve the wider community. So it's not just helping individuals, it's also enabling the wider community to benefit from this particular project. Well, I think Dartington, as I understand it, is playing a valuable role in trying to create a sense of community responsibility, community stimulation, and enhance community through the arts, which is important. And Dartington has done that for a long time. I've been here in Dartington before to speak at the book festival, which is another aspect of the arts. And so it's done that for a long, long time. But also in the wider aspects of social responsibility, by gathering together people from business, by gathering together people from the wider community and from ordinary life, one might say, to begin to discuss issues. It provides that necessary forum. And that's what we need these days. We do need places where people can gather, can discuss together, and hopefully be a little stimulated and invigorated and encouraged, you know, and released from saying, well, it's just up to somebody else to do something. It's just up to the government to do something. No, it isn't. It's up to us to do something, to take situations, to analyze them, to be realistic, and to bring about change ourselves, which we can do. Never, never, we should never be fooled into thinking there's nothing that ordinary people can't do to change their lives, to change their community. If they have the will and then have the insights, they can do it. And Dartington assists in that process. Well, if I were just to take one, I mean, I could go on for a long, long time, but I'll take one, and that is the whole way we're dealing with our penal policy with prisons. Locking up more and more people, one of the highest prison populations in Europe, if not in the world, per head of population, excepting America, which is higher than we are. 84 to 85,000 people now locked up. Now, I am definitely not saying we should be soft on crime. What I am saying is this, that we have to find better ways of dealing with those who offend. Simply to lock a person up and to say, well, throw the key away, and not to provide proper rehabilitative functions within the prison system is no good at all, because as evidence shows us, you get people going into prison, they come out, they go back, and it's just a circle. Far too many people doing that. So I think we need greater emphasis there in our penal system on restorative justice, enabling individuals who've offended to face their offending behavior, and also to face, deal realistically with those whom they've offended against, which means in some cases restitution and proper restitution, so that we have policies in place that actually do work for rehabilitation. There will always be people who need to be locked up for their own protection and for the protection of the wider community. But certainly not everybody needs to be. And also, one other thing, our prisons are far too full of people who have mental disorder, mental deficiency. Prison is no place for them. And why are they there? Because it's a convenient way of disposing of them. Put them inside, forget about them. And that has happened increasingly since we closed our large mental institutions and said, right, care in the community. Where? So I would say that the whole question of penal reform is a very, very big pressing issue, and we should get on with it. But if you were to give me another several hours, I'd illustrate a few more.